Hey guys, last week we started Writer's Workshop and we are going to be working with realistic fiction, and we started thinking about small moments that had happened in our lives and how we could turn those into fiction stories. We're going to continue with that. Our question and our focus today is how can we write a story for people like me so we can see ourselves in books, right? A lot of books have characters that don't look or act like us or have our problems, and that's what we're going to kind of look for. So many times when we're looking at the books that we have in the classroom, we're looking to find ourselves in the story. Might want to find a book about a kid like me who was afraid of the dark, because I was afraid of the dark, or about a kid who was always the last one picked for a sport because they weren't any good at it. That might be something that somebody could relate to, or um, maybe a book about kids who live with their grandparents, right? Or a kid who's adopted, because some of us live with our grandparents or adopted, or a kid who likes to draw and do cartoons and wear, hats that most people don't wear, wear a tail. So if you want to find yourself in a book in a library shelf and no book seems to be telling the story that you want, then you might decide that it's important for you to put your truth into the pages of the books that you write, okay? Let me show you how you could use this strategy to come up with your own stories. So I was thinking about this and the books that I might want to read, and one of those books that I was thinking about was my wife is half Mexican and half American, and I don't feel like there's books out there for people like that. And then there's also people like me that were afraid of the dark, and I don't feel like there's a lot of books about kids being afraid of the dark. So I'm going to go to my writer's notebook, and this is what we're doing today. Today, mostly we're coming up with ideas. So I would type in my writer's workbook. I wish there were books with people like my wife who are multiracial and not raised or aware of part of their identity, which means, my wife wasn't really tied to her Mexican side of her heritage. And that might be a book that or a character she might want to read about. And I wish there were more books about kids that were afraid of the dark. So after I used these ideas for stories, then I can go and start kind of writing my story. And that's what I did. So when I did that, where did I put my story? So I started writing my story, but I actually took both of those pieces of writing and put them into my story. And let me share how I just opened my story. There is a little girl who is half Mexican and lives with her mother. She doesn't see her father much. She wishes her father were around because at night she is afraid of the dark. Her father is so busy working, he doesn't visit her much. Since he moved away, the girl usually sleeps with the light on to make her feel less alone at night. So I took the two story ideas when I was brainstorming. What do I want my character to look like? I want that character to look like something that's important to me. And what's important to me is raising Madison so that she understands that she is 25% Mexican. That's important to me. So I want to write that in the story. And I also want the story to be about a kid that's afraid of the dark. So I put things that I want about me to be out in the world, to be part of this character. So do you see kind of how I did that? Um, so let's try it. What we're focusing on today is, and here is our fancy little anchor chart that shows us how to find ideas for fiction. First, we want to observe the world, see what's happening around us, or reread the things that we've written in our notebook, which is here. And we want to search our notebook for story ideas. Then we want to ask ourselves, what books do I wish existed in the world, right? Let this question lead you to invent a character with traits, struggles, and actions. And then you want to also think about an issue that's important to you and create a character who struggles with that issue. For Damien last year, he thought that a kid should be able to wear his tail to school. So the books that he can write can kind of have that stuff inside of his character. And you all have your own issues that you might have a character that struggles with as well. I think a lot of us are used to always getting in trouble. So it could be a book about a kid that's always getting in trouble. Or, a kid who's always been told that they were bad. And none of us are bad. So it's not true. But these are things that you need to put experiences that you've had in your life into your stories. I had a student last year named Donald in summer school, and I kind of wanted to show you how he was brainstorming, and I saved it because I thought it was really good. So these are just kind of his notes. This isn't really his story, but Donald wanted to write a story about a kid who tries really hard to fit in because Donald felt like he didn't really fit in anywhere. But the more that Donald tried, the worse it got. He tried really hard to fit in, but every time he tried, it was harder. So maybe he'll do something bad, like steal something like sneakers to be like everyone else. But then he gets caught by a secret camera. So it started off in Donald's notebook that he wanted to write a story about a kid who tries really hard to fit in, but then he made up the parts about stealing sneakers and getting caught on camera, and he kind of put parts of himself into the story. So now he's in trouble with the manager, with his mom, with his principal. Maybe he gets really sick, and people who are mad at him start to feel bad about it. And then he said, "No, that's dumb." Maybe he does something that everyone thinks is cool and makes people look at him differently. And Donald wasn't sure, but he knew he wanted to write a story about someone that everybody thought was different. So today we're just going to kind of focus on just coming up with writer's notebook ideas for potential stories. We really want to focus on how we can write a story for people like me so we can see ourselves in the book. So really think about, what are things about me that I don't see anybody writing books about? If you write about a book about a white kid who, gets bullied, there's probably thousands of books out there like that, right? So even if you wanted to be a writer, that would be a hard book to sell when you grew up. But if you wrote a book about an experience that you have and that's different, that some people can relate to, that's really a powerful story to share with the world. Okay, so good luck. We're going to spend the next 15 or 20 minutes just kind of working on our writer's notebook potential idea stories. And if you have more time, you can finish up the last story we did, or you can start writing on this one. Okay, all right, bye.